Seahawks OC Klint Kubiak, preparing for the Super Bowl and to take over the Raiders. Mendoza, the overwhelming favorite to be his quarterback. What do we think this pairing means for the AFC West? And this has got to be great news for you because you had the.
This is your team.
This is your squad.
I don't understand how am I just a Raiders guy for life now because I thought last year they were going to be good?
Well, it's like how I thought the Patriots were going to be good. It's like
no.
you thought the Raiders.
All right, listen. Here's what it means. If Kubiak's the right coach and Mendoza's the guy he's supposed to be, then within 2 years it's a problem for everyone else in the AFC West. Just varying levels of problem, but as we've talked about throughout this year, if you have the right coach and the right quarterback, then you are competing within 2 years. We see that time and again, and if you're not, then one of them's not the right guy. And so that's kind of the big picture look at it. When you have Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Mahomes, Andy Reid, if these guys are the right guys, you're 4 for 4 in coach-quarterback combos, which would be pretty sick. In the short term, here's where it's tricky for me, bro. Why did I believe in the Raiders last year? It wasn't just because I liked Ashton Genty.
You liked Geno, I think?
It was,
Pete Carroll, too.
I said that
Love Geno.
if you make a major upgrade at coach and quarterback, you can have a quick turnaround. So, again, if these are the right guys, then obviously Pete Carroll wasn't good last year, and obviously Geno wasn't good last year. That could the Raiders be frisky next season if they're the guys? Yeah, they could be by the same logic. And so it's not what I would be anticipating happening, but I can't be they call me Mr. Consistency for a reason. I got to be fair.
Very consistent.
I think next year they're going to continue to be the worst team in the division. Unless the Chiefs.
Oh, in the division?
Yeah, unless the Chiefs just,
Why would the
Mahomes
Chiefs
isn't
be the
same.
team?
I'm just saying if they fall off, like unsuspectingly, really. They were 6-8 this year, but, So if it's like, oh my gosh, they're just not the same. But I think the Chargers are going to be really good with Mike McDaniel as the OC. Denver, I don't think is going away. And then I do expect the Chiefs to be good. So I think they'll be the worst team in the division. But like you said, I think that down the road, Coach, they'll be a tough team to reckon with in that division because Kubiak obviously did a great job, has done a great job in Seattle. And if Mendoza is that guy, you got Brock Bowers, you got Genty, if they just need to build, don't be so concerned. I get it that they want to compete next year. But the main thing should just be building around the group they have, building up the defense and seeing if Mendoza's the guy. And then I do think they could really be tough in the future.
Yeah, I think this is going to be pretty challenging because you've got the salty group with the Chargers defensively. You've got Denver's defense, that's problematic. You got Kansas City's defense, you can say what you want about them, but they bring a lot of different looks. They create a lot of problems, and they'll get better. So you've got that to deal with as a first-time head coach. And then I looked and wanted to see where Kubiak was with young quarterback development. So if we can pull this up here and look at the quarterbacks that he's worked with, most of them have been old quarterbacks. So you got Cousins, you've got Russ. He had the one season with Purdy, Carr, and Darnold. Now, when Spencer Rattler started 6 games for the Saints that year, and during that time, he went 0-6 with 4 TDs, 5 interceptions, and a 37.1 quarterback rating. And you could, maybe we give him credit for the Purdy year, but that Trey Lance was also part of that too. So do you get the upside of Purdy, or do you get the downside of the number 3 overall draft pick not being a bust? So it's not like he has developed a ton of young quarterbacks. Now taking someone directly out of college, being responsible for that and the organization without a real track record, it's different working with veterans like that than it is working with a kid just out of college against 3 defenses in that division that all are problematic.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and with Purdy, obviously he has Kyle there.
Right.
Right. Kyle's there.
Is working directly with the quarterback.
And I was just saying, do you give him the credit, or do you look at the Trey Lance?
Well, again, Trey played well those first couple games. He got his leg broken. It hadn't been the same. I mean, So
do you think he needs to hire somebody else just specifically for Mendoza?
Well, I just think the optimism of, okay, you're going to get the number 1 overall draft pick, the quarterback, you hope that he can save the franchise, and you get the hot coordinator, and you're thinking, okay, pair those two up. Yeah. this thing should take off pretty quickly. We've seen a lot of that with young quarterbacks, but you also have to take into account how well he's done with young quarterbacks, and there's really no track record for him developing guys.
Interesting. This guy's a favorite to win MVP, Sam Darnold. He's already brought home the MVA, most valuable acquisition. I don't know if it's given out by CBS, but he was named MVA in an article.
Okay.
I don't know if
an article.
Well, I don't know if it's
just some random article.
I don't know if there's any hardware attached to it.
Probably not.
If he wins the Super Bowl, he will be the first quarterback to win who has played for 5 different teams after he's played for 5 different teams. Should reaching the Super Bowl change how the NFL handles quarterbacks?
No.
Maybe quarterbacks who played for the Jets and
Not at
given
all.
up on.
Not at all.
I think directionally, on how long of a leash should we give our first-round pick quarterback, which is what we're talking about here, teams are correct. Because for every Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, there have been the opposite mistakes. Tua, Kyler, Blake Bortles, guys.
Well, Tua's story's not completely written.
Okay,
yet.
no, but
we haven't even
teams.
gotten to the Sam Darnold phase of
No.
Tua.
But okay,
Or
so
Kyler.
let me explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
Because I think this part of the story is written. Teams that have questions about the player, despite those questions, swallow hard and pay him that second contract, and it ends up being something they wish they hadn't done. So even if Tua does, you're right, Kyler as well could write a whole nother chapter. Daniel Jones falls in this bucket, where even if he writes another chapter, the team that drafted him gave him a second deal that they then instantly regretted. So I think that, for the most part, teams that cut bait with quarterbacks that they drafted in the first round are proven correct. It was smart for, you don't have to talk Zach Wilson if you think he's an unknown. It was smart for the Patriots to move on from Mac Jones. Even if one day he's good. It was smart for the Jets to move on from, the Jets didn't draft Justin Fields, the Bears to move on from Justin Fields.
Trubisky.
For the Bears with Trubisky, the Steelers with Kenny Pickett, the Cardinals with Josh Rosen, the Broncos with Paxton Lynch. Like, those teams, after a couple years, were like, he ain't the guy. Occasionally, teams will make a mistake, or in Darnold's case, I think more likely is the case, I don't know that the Jets made a mistake. Because I don't know if Sam Darnold was ever going to be good with the Jets. And so I think that the best thing for Darnold might have been them moving on and whatever needed to be done. But no, I think in general, teams tend to make the opposite mistake more often, which is hold on to a guy longer than they should because they can't get over the sunk cost of him being a first-round pick, and they want to grab on to whatever hope that he's going to validate that decision.
I think a lot of that's smart. With Darnold, the Jets, now I do think they failed him. I don't think they had the team in place to really help him excel. But then I think they got on a timeline. It was like, we got to kind of decide, do we want to pay this guy or keep him or move on? So it was tough for them. But I got coached 3 ways I think that Darnold should affect things. One, again, I think teams should not be in a rush to automatically start your rookie quarterback. I get the whole financial thing of we want to get this guy playing well on his rookie deal so we can put a bunch of high-priced players around him and be good. But if some guys just aren't ready, now some are. If they are ready, Caleb and Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud, that's fine. I'm not saying hold them back. But Drake Maye didn't start initially. And I get it, that regime, is out of there now with Drake Maye. But maybe that was smart. Like, I just think if you see your quarterback's not ready, don't just throw him in there, because that could ruin him, if you give him a year.
About Caleb, because you put Caleb in, he was ready. But is going through those lumps, because there's a lot of times he did not look ready. He took a ton of sacks.
But they were also 5-2 at one point with him. Yeah.
But do you think that taking those lumps, as brutal as they might be, is just getting calloused?
Helped him.
I think for some guys, but look, I think if Ben Johnson hadn't showed up, then I don't think this would have been the success story that it looks like it's going to be. Second thing, Coach, I do think some of these other guys, the Zach Wilsons, the Kyler Murrays, they should get another look. And, just because a guy failed in his first stop or his first few years doesn't mean he can't. Because it's not just Darnold and Baker. Mac Jones now. I mean, soon, if he was a free agent this summer, he'd probably get a good look somewhere.
Malik Willis.
And maybe they'll trade Malik Willis. Yeah, so there are other guys. And then I think the third thing is Darnold should be like the poster boy for that new middle class of money quarterbacks that make money.
I like this.
Like now it's like if you're pretty good and you're up, you're gonna be the highest paid or at least in that ballpark. And you guys know, as much as I like Brock Purdy, I was saying I'd want to be around 40, 45-ish for him.
And it was helpful he was from Iowa. He was excited. Yeah.
But like Darnold, Baker's in that middle class. Darnold at $55 million a year, I don't like as much, and they probably can't put as much around him. So him making $33 a year, like I do think Tua at that much. You look at the guys differently if they're in that middle class. I get it. Them and their agents are going to push for as much money as they can, and they should. But I think it would be good for the league if there became a middle class of quarterbacks making not quite the max, but, 30, 40, whatever it is.
Right, but who wants to live in that middle class? Do you want to live there?
Well, look, I'll say this, Coach. If I was Sam Darnold, and maybe there becomes a push. Let's say they win the Super Bowl, and people are saying he should push for a raise, $50 million. I get that, and I'm not saying I would. I think he's better off not making just $30 million, but he's better off in Seattle making $30 million than going to another team where it wasn't as good of a fit. He didn't have the players around him, and he gets the $50 million. I guess financially he wouldn't be as well off, but for his career, I think it would be smart for him to say, no, I'm happy here making the money I'm making because I could really do something here.
Yeah, good luck selling that to anybody in the world. Like, hey, I'm Super Bowl MVP, and I'm happy making $20 million less than Brock Purdy.
33 or whatever.
Don't worry about it. No, that'll never happen. And with this, look, guys develop at different rates. And unfortunately, with what we're seeing this year, so Vrabel goes to New England, now they're in the Super Bowl after being terrible. You got Seattle. This is 2 years out, new head coach, new quarterback, they're in the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks the turnaround can be quick. Same thing with quarterbacks. Mendoza, he gets there with Kubiak. Is this going to change everything? The pressure is on for him to perform right away. And some guys do that early and some guys don't. But you've got to be objective about the evaluation of where those guys are, as opposed to just saying, he's a first-round draft pick, he was here, he should do this. Because it's not realistic. And I think about Tom Brady, if we hadn't kept 4 quarterbacks that first year and he had been cut and gone somewhere else as a 6th-round draft pick, what would his trajectory have been like? He sat for a year, and look, it wasn't great early on. And even the first year that he played, those were more defensive-centric years than offensive-centric. He evolved into the player he was, but if he hadn't been paired up in that system that really maximized his skill set and didn't rely on mobility, what would have happened? What if he, gets cut as a 6th-round draft pick? You're just sort of out in the ethos at that point. But it worked out incredibly well for everybody because there was that time given. So as much as Sam Darnold is a lesson to people about second chances and growth and the value of coaching and learning and working hard, every year we're going to see, I want my turkey, but I want it cooked in a microwave. And that's not going to taste good.
I like that. That's true. Turkey in a microwave.
You know what it really should, though, change, KW?
What?
The respect people put on guys' rivals ratings.
His what ratings?
The rivals ratings. Like Darnold kept getting all these chances because of USC in high school and the prospect that he was.
Wasn't he below like a wide receiver who?
No, Jawan Jennings was a super highly rated. No, but he was still a near 5-star, top 10 quarterback recruit in the
People
country.
gave up on him.
But he kept the people that believed in Darnold. It was all pedigree. It was all the measurable stuff and what the prospect he was supposed to be before he set foot in the NFL. You know what I mean? There was nothing he had put on film up until last year that gave you any belief he could turn in the league. That's what I'm saying. It was all pre-NFL stuff.
I just wonder if Mac Jones' career would have been different if Josh McDaniels hadn't taken the head coaching job.
Possibly.
Well, Mac, you know who doesn't think that? Mac Jones, who was like, I don't need it.
I said it at the time.
He was like, I don't know. I got the greatest coach of all time. I'm sure he knows what's best. Turns out,
and a
not so much.
It
wasn't
I'm
great.
like, maybe you should be
Mike
worried.
McDonald and Mike Vrabel are the first defensive-minded head coaches to match up in what Pringles calls the big game. Since Belichick and Dan Quinn, which oddly, after a 28-3 head start, delivered the biggest defensive collapse in Super Bowl history. Which defense do you trust more going into this game? Coach, we're going to start with you here. This is our defensive-minded
I really like watching New England's defense. Watching the AFC Championship game.
Love it.
So they had a 4th-round draft pick starting at safety. They got a rookie free agent coming in, rotating an outside linebacker. They got a bunch of castaways from other teams, a couple guys that they paid money to, all coming together, and they're doing a really good job of communicating. They're disguising coverages. They're matching up. They're bringing multiple looks. They're running to the football. All those things that you look for, and they're playing everybody. There's a ton of guys that rotate through and do contribute in meaningful ways, in meaningful roles that don't have to be the primary role. And guys get hurt, someone else comes in, does a really nice job. So watching them reminded me a lot of the team that we had during our first Super Bowl run, because it was the same type of composition.
Made up, you was freaking
Where it was, Kevin, it was guys guys that were not high free agent, high money free agents, because we weren't in that market. And then everybody kind of came together and found roles and were willing to play whatever part they had to play. And when you put all of that together, it's a really good package.
Thank you.
That's making me feel better.
There we go. You're back.
Coach, I'm
You're back.
I'm a clean slate.
When are
I'm
we
taking
going to
everything in.
When are you going to make a call?
Friday.
Excellent. I love this.
But right now, I trust Seattle's defense.
Yeah, they looked good against the Rams. They look good.
I mean, look, they have played. You had to deal with Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. I know they had a lot of other guys banged up, but they dealt with
I'm gonna let Brew go.
He likes Purdy now. He's a Purdy guy
I'm
now.
going to let Brew make his
And
point.
then, of course, Stafford and that great receiving corps. You guys, Justin Herbert, who has not yet played a good playoff game, C.J. Stroud, who just imploded. I mean, just totally imploded. And then Jarrett Stidham, the backup quarterback. So they have faced tougher competition. Now, they haven't been as impressive, particularly in their second game, as you guys.
They were
but
as impressive in their first game.
First game, yeah, absolutely. But they faced tougher competition. And now you guys have had a pass rush in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, regular season, their pass rush was much better. They were top 8 in the league. You guys were bottom 8 in the league. So overall, I trust Seattle's more. But I think you guys are right there in that same class.
And going into the playoffs, you trusted Seattle's more.
Yes, I didn't realize that. I wasn't expecting the defense to get better.
No, and so in there, if you're want to be fair, whatever curve you're putting on Drake's performance because of the weather, that as we get further away from these games, the weather gets worse and worse.
That's pretty bad.
That round, the further we've gotten away,
50,
the further we've gotten away from the Texans
blizzard.
game, the Texans all of a sudden it was a monsoon
It wasn't
throughout.
monsoon, but
And
the Texans did not want to be there.
The further we get away from the AFC Championship game, that snow was starting right at
People
kickoff.
trying to do a neutral field.
And so
Hated it so much.
And so, but that same curve impacts how the defensive performance. Seattle, first round of the playoffs, Seattle allowed 0.0 yards.
Yeah.
They didn't play. Second round, they were dominant. And third round, obviously, the Rams moved the ball considerably. I think New England's got a really good defense. I think Seattle is certainly the best defense in the NFC and maybe the best defense overall. It's different than the Texans defense. That to me was the other team in that conversation, because the Texans defense seems to have so many more splash plays as opposed to what you call like the boa constrictor, like just slowing you down. But here is what Seattle's defense has done this year against playoff teams. And it gives you an idea of how good the defense is. And so, again, just under 17 points game, opponent passer rating of 82. 300 total yards per game. And this, might not be fair. You might not care about this. But if you remove the games against Stafford and the Rams, this is what they did against playoff teams. Now all of a sudden it's less than 250 yards per game. It's 12 points, a passer rating of 70, which is again against quarterbacks this year not named Matt Stafford. What that pass defense was utterly and thoroughly dominant. Now again, Drake Maye was awesome this year like Stafford was, so you might say he can do something similar to what Stafford did. I think the fact that this was Matt Stafford's third, fourth, and fifth time playing the Mike McDonald defense gave him an edge that Drake Maye's not going to have his first time playing the Mike McDonald defense. So I just think Seattle's got better overall personnel, and they would get my answer.
England has some salty. They got some.
Well, they're obviously
dudes.
really good, but I think, Coach, if you were doing a draft of the players, which isn't how the defense works, I get it. It has to be a collective. I think of the 10 best defensive players in this game, I bet Seattle ends up with 7 of them. Now, that doesn't, again, to Coach's point, they're rotating so many guys out, maybe that doesn't matter. I just do think they have slight more talent.
Can I show you one quick quote panel from The Ringer and Kapadia, who did an excellent job, and I just want he asked a question. I'm I wonder what Coach's answer to this, because I have the Patriots, but I'm wondering how they're going to play. And earlier I talked about the Seahawks giving the ball up. The Patriots have to decide whether their defensive game plan will focus on making Darnold methodically move the ball down the field, or whether they want to prioritize trying to force him into mistakes. Coach, how do you think the Patriots play that?
I would think they'll probably have him methodically move the ball down the field. I would probably double Jackson Smith and Jigba, keep 8 in the box, so take the post safety, double in Jigba, put Christian Gonzalez over on Kupp, and say, okay, beat us with the other guys. See whether you can run the ball against 8 in the box. We're going to double that dude, who's the best dude, and then we're going to take our best corner and put on your second best receiver, and let's see.
Coach,
let's see how you do.
If the Pats did that and the Seahawks responded okay, we're going to put our third receiver out there, Rashid Shaheed, who's faster than anybody on your team.
What's he caught 3 balls in the playoffs?
Well, in the
okay.
Well, they didn't throw much in game 1. In game 2, he did make a big play. I'm just how would that count?
No. Yeah, but then again, they're going to their third best receiver has to beat you, and and that's typically the way that you want it to be. Is okay, as long as the star doesn't beat you, and it ends up being the second or third guy, then you can live with that. It's just it's when you lose a game to the guys that can beat you, you're like, what are we doing?
David Tyree, unfortunately. We'll come up with a big catch every now and then. We're looking at Super Bowl MVP. Darnold's the favorite. Drake has moved up to number 2. Who would a Super Bowl? I
think he's been number 2.
I thought he was deep. I thought he was
Moved up to
3.
number 2.
I thought JSN was 2 at some point. No?
That would be shocking.
I know.
Maybe
the top
just that
2
you're
quarterbacks
that unexpected to win.
No, Wild's just wrong. There is no chance
I didn't know
that Drake Maye
I
ever
didn't know he's
didn't have
top 5.
the top 2
I put
odds.
in my disrespect.
There's just
Put him on the board.
There's no shot.
You got your board.
I know he's top 10. That was just all Seahawks.
That in a 4-point spread, there were Seahawks skill position guys with better odds than
10
Drake
guys.
Maye.
Yeah,
that's
true.
not what happened. Go
Number
ahead.
5. Who would a Super Bowl mean more for, Darnold or Drake, if he somehow wins it?
This is tough because both, and obviously every quarterback that wins the Super Bowl, you benefit. But these two, Darnold's already rewritten his legacy, but that would really, take it to a whole nother level. And then Drake Maye just being in his second year. So it's tough for me. I'm going to go Drake just because I think if Drake wins it, he's sealed as elite. He enters next year. We always talk about those 4 guys, and you can throw Stafford in there now. He's in that group. There's no question if he wins this Super Bowl and is Super Bowl MVP. Whereas if he loses it, he still had a great year, probably second in MVP. Just getting him here was great. But you go from kind of being, okay, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But if you win, you surpass Joe Burrow. And so I think that it just seals him as an elite quarterback if he wins this thing. Whereas if he doesn't, it could be, okay, he was another good quarterback to make it in his second year. We'll see how he does going forward.
Yeah, I see it totally different. I don't think Sam Darnold has secured his legacy at all. I think last game was great. I think that was a huge step in rewriting what it's been. And the question was, could he perform in a big moment? And you look at the 49ers game, it's like they were so lopsided, it really wasn't about him. And then this last game that had to play the way he did, now it's like, okay, maybe he's really over the hump. But now we're in the biggest moment, the biggest possible moment. And if he has one of those 4 interception games or 2 picks, 2 fumbles, everybody's going to be like, yep, it's same old Sam Darnold. In the biggest moments, he folds up. Where with Drake Maye, this is his second year. I think it's a totally different story, totally different timeline. It would be nice for him to perform that well, but it just means so much more, I think, to Darnold than Drake.
So I'm really focused on not just winning the Super Bowl, but winning Super Bowl MVP here. Because if the Pats win the Super Bowl, even if Drake Maye is not Super Bowl MVP, the story of their season is Drake Maye.
Right.
Yeah, because he was the guy in MVP conversations. He might win it. We'll find out in the next few days. But he's certainly going to finish top 2. And so he is minted no matter if the Pats win, even if Ramondre or Christian Gonzalez, even if someone else is defensive MVP, or is Super Bowl MVP. I think it's sneaky important for Jalen Hurts that he was Super Bowl MVP.
Oh,
and
definitely.
not Saquon. Because the story all year was Jalen Hurts, bus driver, bus rider, that type of, I'm mixing metaphors there a bit. But when they play the Super Bowl, he plays great, and he is minted as the MVP of that game. It removed a lot of that.
Yes.
Like all offseason, when we were talking about it, it's like, well, he literally was MVP of the Super Bowl. That's how I look at Darnold. I don't look at Darnold as yet being looked at as the definitive bus driver of this Seahawks team. Like that he's had a really good year and his second straight really good year, but on a really good team and these other factors. So if they win it and a defensive player or JSN is Super Bowl MVP, I don't think he gets quite the leap as if they win it and he's Super Bowl MVP. So that's where I think the bonus for him, it's a bigger reputational bonus for him than for May. You know what I mean? It's, because you obviously can't win it without your team winning the Super Bowl. So I think
you should be able to.
Of course you should be able to, but voters have only got that right once ever.
Okay, coming in at 3rd and 4th, JSN and Kenneth Walker, both Seahawks. Who do you see having a more impactful game here, bro?
I'm going to go with, believe it or not, Kenneth Walker, the 3rd. If it's a shootout, I'll go with JSN. If it's a low-scoring, nip-and-tuck, tough game, I'll say Walker. And I think that's what it's going to be. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see a shootout, but I see a game that's tough, that's close, that's hard-fought. And Kenneth Walker, with his running ability, I think will make more of a factor in that type of game.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Kenneth Walker. And I think if Kenneth Walker doesn't have a really good game and isn't a big part of the offense, then New England's going to win this game easily. So if they shut out Kenneth Walker, then they're going to be able to do a lot of other things that they want to do. But if he gets going, and now they've got to adjust and they've got to figure out other ways to stop the run outside of the initial game plan, then that's going to open up things in coverage for Jackson Smith and Jigba. So it's got to be him. Otherwise, they're going to have problems.
Yeah, I think it's JSN. And I understand your point of don't let the best player beat you. I understand that was Belichick's thing and your thing and a lot of smart coaches' thing. Seahawks played smart coaches various times this year. I bet most of them been like, we're not going to let JSN beat us. And JSN, for most of these games, beat people. And I don't think that doubling him without one of what you said of double him, put Christian Gonzalez elsewhere, I don't know if that'll work. I think JSN has been splitting double teams and been beating coverage shaded to him all year long. And so I'm not saying it can't work, but I think JSN is playing at an incredibly high level. Teams have been game planning to stop him all year long. And I think the Patriots have, when Milt Williams is back, a little underrated run defense. And so I think that JSN's going to have a big game. And I think that he will have a big game.
Coach, I'm very worried about JSN having a huge game, largely for what Nick is talking about. And I expect that we're going to throw multiple looks at him. It won't just be Marcus or it won't just be Christian Gonzalez, but you seem more confident that JSN won't be a game breaker, let's say.
Well, look, if he does, it won't be for lack of trying to stop him. You know, it won't be like, okay, we're going to play our defense. They're going to actually do some things, I'm sure, have multiple ways to try to handle him, whether it's high-low doubles, inside-out doubles. Maybe they push Gonzalez over to him when they want to blitz, but different thing. Maybe they, make sure they're jamming him at the line of scrimmage. A lot of different ways to try to handle him, and they're going to know where he is on every play. Does that mean that they're going to be able to shut out a great player? No, but what's even more or less effective against him is single coverage.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's really problematic. So, and then I do think if you take him away, then you've got Sam Darnold trying to figure out, what do I do next? Where do I go next?
That's fair.
And then, is he doubled? Is he not doubled? And having Sam Darnold have to post-snap figure that out, which then allows the pass rush to continue to come, that to me is...
That's how you make them see ghosts.
Well, and look, Rabel's been part of the family tree that made him see ghosts. In terms of smart coaches, he's one of the smartest guys I ever coached.
Ooh, Brew, you're starting to come around a little bit. A little bit.
I am.
Oh!
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.